My name is Tom, and I'm an alcoholic. In an effort to improve outreach to military members in the armed services who may be struggling with an alcohol problem, we are collecting interviews from current AA members serving in the U.S. and Canadian Armed Forces to share the experience and strength and hope they have found in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Good afternoon, Tom. My name is Lee. I'm an alcoholic. I'm actually getting ready to come up on my Navy and my AA birthdays. I've been in AA for 7 years and the Navy for 20. I'm a chief and I'm doing a lot better than I was 7 years ago. Prior to the first time I drank, I was socially awkward. And I can remember clearly the first time I drank. I got picked up by a group of friends and we were driving out of the neighborhood and someone pulled out a bottle of whiskey. And I started to drink, and that social lubricant factor kicked in immediately. I wrestled in high school, and combined with that, my drinking, my popularity increased. I was social. I felt like I was happy. My father was retired from the Navy, and I think subconsciously I'd always seen him partying as I grew up. You know, I saw people over and coming through the house. And I think also the old adage of drinking like a sailor probably didn't hurt my decision. And so I went ahead and I decided to join. As soon as the ship pulled in anywhere, it was on. I was lucky enough during that tour to do a Mediterranean deployment and do some stuff up in Scotland and England. And that's actually probably one of my regrets now looking back at it. I missed a lot of amazing places that I've been because I found myself in more bars than I did going to see Acropolis in Athens and just these amazing places that I can't get back. I can remember the last deployment I did where I was drinking. I was deployed in the Middle East, and I was quite frequently with my team put on short notice to go do things. And we weren't supposed to drink on those 2 or 4 hour standbys, and that didn't stop me. And I can recall, and this actually ended up leading to one of my amends. I definitely went out on missions after I'd been drinking. And it's pretty scary looking back at it. At about 13 years of sobriety, I was on travel. I was down in, I was in the States, but I was down in the southern, I think it was Mississippi. And I had a night of drinking. It was a blackout night. I woke up the next morning and I remembered absolutely nothing. I remember I was late. I woke up, I had some missed phone calls. A junior said that was traveling with me couldn't get a hold of me. We were late for where we needed to be. He was freaking out, and I was just in a daze. I was able to piece parts of that night together, and one of the most gut-wrenching portions is I realized I'd been unfaithful to my wife. I wasn't sure of everything that had happened. So I spent the remainder of that week just being ripped apart. I couldn't believe what I'd done. I didn't know how to handle it. It was probably one of the hardest weeks of my life ever. So during that period, I knew that I had a problem. I didn't know what the problem was, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. When I got back to my house, or back to Norfolk, my wife picked me up at the airport. I think I made it about 12 steps past security, and I just broke down. And I confessed, which is rough. I put her in a really bad spot. My oldest daughter was there too. And it was selfish of me at that point. I mean, not to say what had happened, but it was selfish. I put her in a spot just to make myself feel better. And so, yeah, that definitely was the moment. And then I remember that in the weeks following that, I had a conversation with my pastor. And up to that point, I hadn't really been extremely involved in my faith at the time. I went to church on Sundays, but that's kind of because, well, my wife wanted to do it. That's what my family did. We went to church on Sundays. And I remember talking to him and explaining what had happened and telling him how I'd felt. And, you know, I was about 33 years old at the time. And I remember him looking at me, telling me that I felt remorse. And at 33 years, I had never felt remorse of anything I had done in my life. Yeah, I think that's when I realized I needed help. The church that we attended to had an AA meeting. So I eventually made it there. I didn't end up referring myself to any form of treatment. It being at my church and kind of being there in front of me and being told by someone who was trying to help me I wasn't wanting to listen to, I drug myself into the rooms. My first deployment after getting sober, I started to have some concerns that I would be found out. And once again, I think that's when I really started to realize that the chain of command is more interested in me getting better and working and getting the mission completed than anything. I can actually remember I went and I talked to our senior list at the time. She was a mass chief. I think she may have been senior chief at the time. Either way, just to let her know that I was in AA. I was going to meetings locally, and I remember telling her, and it was like nothing. It was kind of like, okay, do you need anything? Like, at first she was shocked, but I just told her, hey, I'm an alcoholic. I go to meetings. Just want you to know in case someone sees me and says something. Not a fact at all. I was a first class at the time. It wasn't a big deal. So I've had both shore-based and ship-based deployments since I got sober. Shore-based was actually probably more difficult than sea-based. Shore-based, there were some meetings locally I was able to attend to. The ones on the base that I was at were not regularly attended. There were some out in town I really didn't get a chance to. So I really relied on talking to my home group and my sponsor to kind of keep me in check. My last deployment, it was underway. The biggest thing is I know some people didn't understand what Friends of Bill was. It was in the plan of the day every day, but they would miss it. And that's actually how that sailor I mentioned earlier, I think, didn't come to meetings. They didn't realize what it was. So if you see Friends of Bill, know it's an AA meeting and it's safe to go to it. But we actually started off with 4 service members, 5. I think by the end of the deployment, 7 months, we had a regular attendance of about 12. We actually ran out of big books and had to order a bunch more while we were deployed. So it worked out well. It was nice to have meetings that helped me calm down a lot. They actually were really supportive of it. And I actually had a couple of conversations even with some of the senior leadership on the ship to let them know that that the meetings were going good, and they were really happy to support it and make sure that it wasn't interfered with. It actually got moved locations at one point just to make it easier for people to go to and not be seen or feel like they were going to be seen. I have 2 daughters. They're 14 and 15. My girls now don't remember me drinking. And that's probably the most important part of anything that I've done. Take care of yourself and get help is probably it. I wish someone would have told me that. I wish someone would have told me that the chain of command is not really going to care. Your colleagues, they'll support you if what you're doing is the right thing for yourself. There was lots of concerns I had with deployments being the biggest one because I would be gone away for a long time. My routine would be blown to smithereens. But all of my deployments, I've had meetings that I could go to. I was worried about what people would think. I've been in a few years now, and I do hang out, obviously, with more senior people. So it's easier for me to manipulate what I do and where I go. But I think that looking back, there's always somewhere that I could have done or a group of people I could have tied myself to go do that. Just know that you will be supported by both your friends, both your family, and ultimately the chain of command is going to support you. That's about it.
Thank you, Lee, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us today.
The views and opinions expressed during this podcast are those of the individuals. No one person speaks for AA as a whole. For more information about AA, please visit our website at aa.org. To find a meeting near you or a meeting online, download the Meeting Guide app on your mobile device.